Prince iPal with a little mindset of positivity for you. Train your mind to see the good in everything. Because you know what? There's always something good in everything. Sometimes it takes a little more time and a little more effort to find the good, but there is always good in everything. So train your mind to find the good. Positivity is a choice. Your happiness of your life depends on your positive thoughts. So look for the positive or the silver lining in everything. There's your positivity and mindset. Well, science here with your scientific word of the day. The word of the day is amphibian. Amphibians are animals that live in water and on land. They have smooth, moist skins and lay their eggs in the water. Our scientific word of the day is amphibians.
Hi, I'm Dr. Freytag with Freytag Orthodontics. I'm here to share with you Dental Did You Know? Did you know your teeth are made of enamel? And enamel is even stronger than your bone.
Hello there, this is Mrs. Spruce back with Prince iPal Science. We have so many amazing innovators here at IA. They've all been answering questions and solving problems with their science projects for SARSF. And that made me think of this book, where another amazing innovator solved a big problem for his town with his project. It's called Randy Riley's Really Big Hit by Chris Van Dusen. Randy Riley stood at bat. He gazed out at the mound. His knees began to tremble and his heart began to pound. Then Randy started thinking about the pitcher's throw. He wondered, without gravity, how far the ball would go. And as he stood there pondering, strike three went whizzing by. "You're out," he heard the umpire call, then walked off with a sigh. You can see he has some serious physics equations going on in his head. See, Randy was a genius. He just couldn't hit the ball. He struck out every time at bat. He wasn't good at all. But something beyond baseball brought a smile to Randy's face. What Randy Riley really loved was stuff from outer space. He studied all the planets, he memorized their tilt, he researched how the thrusters on a rocket ship was built. He knew the constellations and the light years to the stars, and wouldn't it be grand, he thought, to ride a bike on Mars? When Randy Riley got back home, he went up to his room. He knew he stunk at baseball, and it filled his heart with gloom. So he took his favorite robots from the shelf above his bed and staged a game of baseball with his robot team instead. That night before he went to sleep, Randy scanned the sky, and through his Spaceboy telescope, a glimmer caught his eye. He fiddled with the focus till he saw it crystal clear. It was a massive fireball, and it was coming near. Alarmed, he started plotting the projection of its path. He formulated diagrams. He double-checked his math. He calculated quickly and concluded with a frown. In 19 days, the fireball would crash into his town. Doing some equations there, the protractor. Randy Riley flew downstairs to warn his mom and dad. The impact would be major and the damage would be bad. He explained the situation until his face was red, but they told him he was tired and they sent him off to bed. Oh no. Poor Randy couldn't sleep at all. He thought the whole night through. By morning, it was obvious just what he had to do. He gathered what he needed with determined resolution and lugged it off behind the shed to work on his solution. Randy toiled for 18 days while other kids had fun, but he was on a mission, so he worked till he was done. Playing baseball over there. At breakfast on the 19th day, the news announcer said, "This is a special bulletin, emergency, code red. A fireball is approaching and it just flew past the moon. It's coming fast, so be prepared for it to hit by noon." They look very startled, but he doesn't seem surprised at all, eating his UFOs. Everybody burst outside as fear and panic grew, but Randy ran back to the shed. He had a job to do. He grabbed the tarp and gave a tug. It slid off to reveal the mighty mammoth robot man he'd welded out of steel. The robot needed power, and Randy knew precisely that 97 batteries would energize it nicely. The eyes lit up, the engine whirred. Step one was now complete. So far, so good, thought Randy. Then they thundered down the street. Step 2 of Randy's mission took place just south of town in a section known as Millville, where he slowed the robot down. The robot ripped the smokestack off an old abandoned mill. Then Randy turned the throttle knob to march him up the hill. Back in town, the people were as frightened as could be, but Randy knew the time had come for critical step 3. The robot burst out through the trees, stepped up, and took a stance, while everyone fell silent as if frozen in a trance. Randy's eyes was on the ball. No room for error now. 3, 2, 1, and flip the switch. A swoosh, and then kapow! A blinding flash, a booming crash. He knew what he had done. Randy Riley had a hit. His very first home run. The fireballs sailed out of sight. A rousing cheer began. Hooray for Randy Riley and his giant metal man. And as the crowd went crazy, Randy stood there with a grin and mumbled, "How predictable. A fastball. Low and in." When things returned to normal after Randy saved the day, he went back to the baseball field to join his friends at play. And though he swings in earnest, he rarely hits the ball. But that's okay, because Randy's had the biggest hit of all. The robot's playing. The end.
It's Miss Maker again. We've been looking at triangles in different ways, and today I wanted to show you how I used a triangle in order to fix my problem. So what kept happening is that this was a rectangle, as you can see, and it just kept falling. It collapsed like I showed you in that first video. But what I did was cut that diagonally and diagonally the other way, and this solved my problem. It's been able to withstand the wind for like 2 weeks. And I also used triangles to help solve this problem over here. Right? I had stood them up straight up and down like a rectangle, and I figured out I needed to triangulate and fix my problem. So I hope you can find ways to use more triangles today.
Hi! What are you guys doing?
We're dancing
And singing! Oh, with ING! I would like to be driving! Don't forget, when your verb needs a little bit of zing, add ING!
Welcome to another episode with me, the Mathemagician. Last week we talked about doubles, so multiplying by 2. And when we multiply by 2, we would take the number and we would double it. We would do 4 plus 4 and we would get 8. This week, we're going to talk about when we multiply by the number 4. It's the same concept, but instead of doubling once, we have to double it twice. So, 4 plus 4 is 8, and then I double that and I say 8 plus 8 is 16. So 4 times 4 is 16. If I was doing 4 times 5, 5 plus 5 is 10, 10 plus 10 is 20. So remember, when you're multiplying by 4s, all you need to do is double, double.
Hello, Mrs. Cordell here with our IA Science History. This week I'd like to talk a little bit about Jane Goodall. She is a conservationist and chimpanzee expert. So she cares a lot about the environment and animals in the environment. When she was 1 year old, her parents gave her a cute little chimpanzee toy to commemorate the birth of the first chimpanzee at the London Zoo. 1 year old. 85 years later, she still has that toy chimpanzee, and she has spent over 55 years studying chimpanzees. So this is our science history person of the
You
week.
enjoyed another episode of Prince, I, Pal, Science, and Friends. It is truly good to have friends. Ta-ta for now.